The basics of this technique apply to blocking and evading any type of strike that approaches the upper body and head. The two primary goals of this technique are to place something between ourselves and any striking object and to escape as quickly as possible. By blocking the strike, we protect vulnerable structures of the head and the neck, regardless whether the striking object is a fist, foot, IV pole, cane, or even a thrown projectile. It is a natural reflex to use our hands for this, and that is how we begin the first step of this technique. Remember that you and your co-trainer must demonstrate all parts of the technique first, so that the participants can see the technique before they are asked to do the technique. Remind them that all personal safety skills begin from the position of the supportive stance. As Shanta will demonstrate, from the supportive stance, the hands are brought up to form an X in front of the upper body, face and neck. The hands are open with palms facing outward and fingers together. Some participants may ask if it is better to close the hands or leave them open. There may be a lot of opinions about why one of these is better than the other, because we intend for your hands to be in this position only briefly to block an oncoming strike. It is important to have your hands up and fingers together and not relevant whether hands are open or closed. If one position is more comfortable or less distracting for you and enables you to quickly get your hands up to block, then that is the one you should use. Notice that in the X formation, the arms can move freely to block strikes coming from any direction. The primary goal in this technique is to prevent the strike from making contact with its intended target. So, most important step is to turn and leave, what Shanta will now demonstrate. Now let's show the technique as one fluid movement. For this part of the demonstration, Bridget will slowly approach Shanta and perform a slow, non-contact strike with her fist while Shanta demonstrates the full technique. When you're training this technique in class, remember to give the participants the following instructions. All movements should be slow and smooth, especially for those performing a fake strike. All techniques start from the position of the supportive stance, and the participants should not actually strike each other or make physical contact during the fake strike. And all participants must demonstrate turning and going, since this is the key part of our techniques. Some common errors that participants make that you will need to correct in the classroom include the tendency of the person blocking the strike to lean forward into the striking person. Remind students that this is the opposite of what we want to do in this technique. If anything, we want to use the supportive stance to create more distance between us and the strike, while making the X with our arms to protect from the strike and then turn and go. To summarize this technique, your arms form an X that you place between you and the strike. Palms face forward, and the X provides a flexible, mobile shield. The goal of this technique is to block and evade the strike, giving you time to turn and exit.